Are you eating eggs every day for protein, but still losing strength in your legs? You're not alone. Eggs are often considered the gold standard of protein. And yes, they're incredibly nutrient dense. But after age 70, something changes inside your body. Your muscles stop responding the same way to the foods that once worked. And if you're relying solely on eggs or typical protein sources like chicken, fish, or whey, you might unknowingly be fueling more muscle loss instead of rebuilding it. Let me explain. After 70, your muscle tissue becomes far more resistant to something called muscle protein synthesis, the process your body uses to rebuild and maintain muscle. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to fill a sponge that's gotten stiff and dry. You pour water on it, but it just runs off. That's what happens to dietary protein as we age. The body becomes less efficient at using it to rebuild muscle tissue, especially if we're not giving it the right type of protein in the right metabolic context. This is where most people, and even many doctors, miss the mark. You see, it's not just about getting enough protein, it's about bioavailability, amino acid density, digestibility, and timing. It's about overcoming something called anabolic resistance, which is the silent driver behind age-related muscle loss, or what we call sarcopenia. And here sits what the latest research shows. There is one food, yes, just one, that outperforms eggs when it comes to muscle regeneration in seniors. It delivers more usable protein per gram. It activates muscle protein synthesis faster, and it doesn't spike insulin like most high-protein foods do. In this video, I'd break it all down for you. What step's really causing muscle loss after 70? It steps not lack of exercise. The food that beats eggs for muscle recovery and how to use it. The role of insulin resistance in age-related muscle atrophy. How to trigger muscle protein synthesis naturally without shakes or powders. Why most high-protein diets backfire after 70 and how to fix it. A practical daily protocol you can follow starting today. So if you're over 70 and want to stay strong, mobile, and independent, or help a loved one do the same, this might be one of the most important nutrition lessons you hear this year. Let's dive into the science. And by the way, if you find this helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day to help you restore your health naturally, without medications. Most seniors are protein deficient, even when eating safe enough. Sip. Let me ask you a quick question. If you're eating eggs in the morning, maybe some chicken at lunch, a piece of fish or lentils at dinner, you might assume you're getting enough protein, right? But here's the reality. After age 70, enough isn't enough anymore. Your body becomes far less efficient at processing and absorbing protein, especially if your digestion is compromised or your insulin levels are too high. So you could be eating what looks like a high-protein diet, but your muscles are starving. Here's is. What's really going on inside your body? As we age, the stomach naturally produces less hydrochloric acid. That acid is essential to break down proteins into amino acids. It's like having a blender with a dull blade. It just doesn't extract the nutrients efficiently. So even if you're eating eggs or meat, you're not actually absorbing the protein fully. On top of that, anabolic resistance begins to kick in, a condition where your muscle cells stop responding to the signal from amino acids to rebuild tissue. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to start a car, but the ignition system is corroded. You turn the key, but the engine doesn't respond. That's what happens when your protein signaling pathways start to dull with age. Now here sits the kicker. Studies show that older adults often need 50% more high-quality protein per meal just to trigger the same muscle-building response as a 25-year-old. And most people, even the health-conscious, fall far short. But it gets even more complex. Even if you do get more protein, it still has to be bioavailable, meaning your body can absorb and use it efficiently without generating waste or inflammation. Some protein sources, like certain plant proteins or heavily cooked meats, have low digestibility scores. That means they don't fully contribute to muscle repair. This is why older adults often experience what's called sarcopenic obesity, where they're gaining fat but losing muscle at the same time. It's not just about calories or exercise, it's a metabolic inefficiency at the protein level. What the research shows is this: if you're over 70, your protein strategy needs to change. You need higher doses of complete, easily digestible protein, and you need to pair it with the right metabolic environment, meaning low insulin, strong digestion, and liver support. So what can you do? Here sits the solution. 3 simple steps to begin fixing this today. Increase your per meal protein threshold. Aim for at least 30-40 g of high-quality protein in a sitting, not spread out all day in tiny doses. Support digestion. Consider a digestive enzyme with HCl hydrochloric acid before your largest protein meal, especially if you experience bloating or belching. Eat protein during your most insulin-sensitive window, usually within 90 minutes of waking or after light activity, when muscle uptake is more efficient. We'll talk more about which food beats eggs for this in just a moment. But first, we need to uncover why eggs, despite their benefits, might not be your best choice after 70. And if this has been helpful so far, hit that like button and consider subscribing. This channel is all about helping you rebuild strength naturally, without medication. Now let's talk about eggs. Eggs are one of the most complete proteins you can eat. They contain all 9 essential amino acids, they're rich in choline for brain health, and they have a high biological value, meaning your body can absorb and utilize their protein well. But here's what most people don't realize. Eggs are excellent, but they're not always optimal after 70. Let me explain with a simple analogy. Imagine you're trying to fill a gas tank that's developed a blockage in the fuel line. You might have premium fuel, like a organic pasture-raised egg, but if a fuel line is clogged, the engine won't run efficiently. That clog in this case is anabolic resistance, the metabolic slowdown that prevents your muscle cells from activating properly after protein intake. Now here's the key.
Wow.
Eggs are high in protein. They only contain about 6 to 7 grams of protein per egg. That means to hit the threshold for muscle protein synthesis, especially in someone over 70, you need to eat 5 or 6 eggs at one time. That's 400-500 calories. And for many seniors, that's either too filling, too much fat at once, or simply not digestible. And even if you did eat that many eggs, you're still dealing with the timing, insulin context, and digestive limitations we talked about earlier. Your body has to be in the right state to process that load efficiently. Now what about cooked eggs? That's another issue. Overcooking eggs, like scrambling them at high heat or hard boiling until rubbery, denatures the proteins and reduces bioavailability. The body may not absorb those amino acids as effectively, which lowers their muscle building potential even further. And here sips something even more surprising. The leucine content, leucine being the key amino acid responsible for stimulating muscle growth, is modest in eggs compared to certain other sources. Eggs have about 0.5 g of leucine per egg. You need around 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to trigger muscle growth in older adults. So again, that's 5 or 6 eggs at minimum. Compare that to certain overlooked foods, like the one I'll reveal in the next section, that give you that threshold with half the calories, better absorption, and faster muscle activation. Also important, eggs, like all animal proteins, still provoke a mild insulin response. And if you're already insulin resistant, which many people over 70 are without knowing it, your muscle cells may not respond to the anabolic signal efficiently, even if the protein gets in. In fact, one study published in Nutrients 2020 showed that older adults with higher insulin sensitivity had greater muscle protein synthesis in response to meals, regardless of protein source. So the takeaway isn't to eliminate eggs. They're still a great food. But when it comes to rebuilding muscle fast after 70, especially if you're facing anabolic resistance, there are better tools. We're about to look at one of them. It's a protein-rich, easy-to-digest food that's often overlooked, and yet gram for gram, it can outperform eggs for post-70 muscle restoration. Let's move on to the next section, and I'll show you exactly what this food is, why it works, and how to use it strategically. So, what is this one food that beats eggs when it comes to muscle restoration after 70? It's collagen-rich bone broth protein, specifically concentrated hydrolyzed bone broth protein powder or homemade slow-cooked bone broth, ideally combined with a small amount of leucine-rich whole protein. Now, at first glance, this might surprise you. Bone broth doesn't have the same amount of protein per serving as a steak or an egg, right? That's true. But here's where things get interesting. Bone broth, when made correctly or used as a protein concentrate, delivers an incredibly bioavailable, low insulin triggering source of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, the very amino acids that help regenerate connective tissue, cartilage, and even improve the signaling of mTOR, the master switch for muscle protein synthesis. Let me explain with a simple whiteboard analogy. Imagine your muscles are like a construction site. You have workers, the amino acids, machinery, your mitochondria, and the building plans, your DNA. Now, most people shovel in building materials like eggs or meat, but they forget one thing, the scaffolding. That scaffolding, the support beams that hold muscle tissue together, is made from collagen. If you're not restoring that scaffolding, you're trying to build muscle on a crumbling foundation. And after 70, your body's ability to make its own collagen drops dramatically, in fact, by as much as 75% compared to youth. That means even if you eat complete protein, your infrastructure for muscle mass isn't there. Here sits what the research shows. A 2021 clinical study in aging, clinical and experimental research found that older adults supplementing with collagen, protein, and resistance training significantly increased muscle mass and strength compared to controls. Another study showed that collagen peptides, when combined with even low-intensity movement like walking, stimulated muscle regeneration and improved joint function, something essential for staying mobile as we age. And the best part, bone broth protein doesn't spike insulin. It's low in methionine and rich in glycine, a ratio that actually supports detoxification, liver repair, and reduced inflammation, all of which make your muscle building pathways more efficient. Let's tie this back to eggs. Eggs are complete, yes, but bone broth protein, especially when paired with a leucine-rich food, like a small portion of pasture-raised turkey or added to a morning shake with creatine, gives you the amino acids your aging body is missing and allows the protein you do consume to be used more effectively. So what's this simple protocol? Morning bone broth muscle protocol. Ideal for age 70 plus. 8-12 ounces. Homemade or hydrolyzed bone broth within 60-90 minutes of waking. Start your day with a warming amino acid-rich drink that's easy to digest. Add a scoop of bone broth protein powder. Look for one with 18-20 g of protein per serving. Optional. Add 2-3 g of leucine or 5 g of creatine to enhance anabolic signaling. Pair with light movement, walking, stretching, resistance bands within 30 minutes. Movement enhances amino acid uptake into muscle cells. This combination beats eggs alone in 3 ways. Easier to digest, especially for older adults with low stomach acid. Contains glycine and collagen-specific aminos that eggs lack. Can be consumed more frequently and in higher volume without insulin load. Now that you know the food, in the next section, we'll go deeper into why the liver plays a hidden role in whether or not this protein strategy works. So far, we've looked at the protein problem, the food that beats eggs and how to use it. Now let's talk about something that almost no one connects to muscle loss, but it might be the root cause in many cases. It subverts your liver. Here sits it. What sits is really going on inside your body. The liver is your central metabolic processing plant. It filters blood, regulates hormones, produces bile for digestion, and most importantly for today's topic, it helps convert amino acids into usable forms for muscle protein synthesis. Think of the liver like a logistics center. When you eat protein, your body breaks it down into amino acids and sends them to the liver for sorting. The liver decides what gets used for tissue repair, what gets turned into glucose, and what gets stored or excreted. But here sits the problem. After age 70, liver function often declines, and most people don't know it. This isn't necessarily liver disease. It's something more subtle, a buildup of fat in the liver called non-alcoholic fatty liver, sluggish bile flow, or simply a lifetime of metabolic stress that leaves the liver overwhelmed. The result? Even if you eat a perfect meal, clean protein, good fats, the right supplements, the liver may not process those nutrients properly. And if the liver can't convert those amino acids into usable fuel for the muscles, guess what happens? You lose muscle, even if you're eating right. Let me give you a whiteboard analogy. Imagine your muscles are a house being remodeled. You have all the building materials, bricks, wood, cement. But if the delivery trucks, amino acids can't get through a jammed up warehouse, the liver, construction halts. You're eating the right foods, but the raw materials aren't arriving at the job site. Now here sits the science. Studies show that liver dysfunction is strongly correlated with sarcopenia, especially in aging populations. And in people with fatty liver, the rate of muscle protein breakdown increases, meaning you're not just struggling to build muscle, you're actually losing it faster than normal. But here sits the good news. The liver is also one of the most regenerative organs in your body. And there are simple, natural steps to support it, especially if you're over 70 and trying to rebuild muscle. Here sits a practical protocol to support liver function for better protein metabolism. Consume choline-rich foods daily. Choline is essential for fat metabolism in the liver. Best sources, pasture-raised egg yolks 1-2 per day. Beef liver once a week or sunflower lecithin 1 TSP day. Add bitter foods before meals to stimulate bile flow. Arugula, dandelion greens, lemon water, apple cider vinegar 1 TSP in warm water before meals. Use targeted liver support nutrients. Taurine 500-1000 milligrams to aid bile production. Milk thistle extract for liver regeneration. Glycine from bone broth to support phase 2 liver detoxification. Avoid insulin spiking snacks. Every blood sugar spike stresses the liver. Stick to 2 or 3 whole food meals per day with no snacking in between. Supporting your liver doesn't just help digestion. It directly affects your ability to absorb, convert, and use protein. And that makes the difference between losing muscle slowly or rebuilding it actively. So if you're working hard to eat clean and increase protein, but you're still weak or fatigued, this could be the missing piece. Now let's connect the next critical piece of the puzzle, insulin resistance. Most people associate insulin resistance with blood sugar issues or prediabetes. But what many don't realize is that insulin is also one of your body's most important anabolic or building hormones. It's not just about sugar, it's about how nutrients get delivered into cells, including muscle cells. Here are SIPs. What's SIPs really going on inside your body? Insulin acts like a key. When you eat a meal with protein or carbohydrates, insulin is released to open the doors of your cells and allow nutrients inside in a healthy system. That's exactly what you want. Amino acids go into muscle cells. Glucose goes into storage and everything works smoothly. But as you age, especially after 70, your body often becomes insulin resistant. That means the key no longer fits the lock. The doors stay shut. So even if you eat the perfect protein-rich meal, those amino acids can't get into your muscle cells. Let me break this down with a simple analogy. Imagine a delivery truck, amino acids, trying to drop off supplies at a construction site, your muscles. Insulin is the gatekeeper. But if the gate is rusted shut because of years of inflammation, metabolic stress, and liver dysfunction, then the supplies can't be delivered. The truck just circles the building, and eventually the supplies get rerouted or wasted. This is why many older adults lose muscle despite eating well. The nutrients never actually reach the tissues that need them. Now here sits the twist. You don't need to be diabetic for this to happen. In fact, many seniors with normal blood sugar levels still have underlying insulin resistance, especially if they've lived on high-carb, low-fat, snack-heavy diets for decades. And this resistance doesn't just block muscle growth. It also increases muscle breakdown, leads to fatty liver, and accelerates inflammation, all of which create a downward spiral for strength, mobility, and energy. But here sits the good news. Insulin sensitivity is highly reversible, even after age 70. Here sits how to naturally improve insulin sensitivity to restore muscle growth. Eat your protein in a low insulin state. Best times after intermittent fasting, for example, 16-8 or post-walk/light workout. This is when insulin receptors are most responsive. Cut refined carbs, especially in the morning. Avoid cereal, bread, fruit juice, or heart-healthy oatmeal. Replace with bone broth, eggs, greens, and healthy fats. To keep insulin stable, use blood sugar balancing nutrients, berberine, 500 milligrams with meals to mimic insulin naturally. Chromium and magnesium to improve insulin signaling. Apple cider vinegar, 1 teaspoon before meals shown to blunt insulin spikes. Walk after meals, even 10-15 minutes. Post-meal movement lowers insulin by moving glucose into muscles. This improves muscle nutrient uptake and reduces fat storage. Studies show that improving insulin sensitivity can dramatically increase muscle protein synthesis, even without changing your total protein intake. So this isn't just about eating better. It's about creating the right internal environment so your muscle cells can receive and use the protein you're already working hard to eat. Let's put it all together now. If you're over 70 and serious about rebuilding muscle, not just maintaining it, you need a daily strategy that supports protein absorption, muscle synthesis, and metabolic efficiency. Here's a simple science-backed protocol you can start using immediately. No powders, no gimmicks, just real tools that work with your physiology. The Daily Muscle Rebuild Protocol for age 70 plus. Step 1. Start your day fasted if possible. Aim for at least 12-14 hours overnight without food. Why? Fasting lowers insulin and increases insulin sensitivity, setting up your body to absorb and use protein more efficiently once you do eat. Example. If your last meal is at 7 p.m., eat your first meal around 9-10 a.m. Step 2. Break your fast with bone broth plus protein combo. Begin with 8-12 ounces of warm homemade or powdered bone broth. Add a scoop of hydrolyzed bone broth protein, 18-20 g. Optional, stir in 2-3G leucine or 5G creatine monohydrate for an anabolic boost. This primes the digestive system, supports joint tissue, and provides bioavailable amino acids in a low insulin context. Bonus. Add a teasip of apple cider vinegar 10 minutes before your shake or broth to support bile flow and digestion. Step 3. Light movement after protein intake. Within 20-30 minutes of your meal, do light resistance training, a brisk walk, or stair climbing for 10-20 minutes. Why? Movement acts like an insulin sensitizer. It opens the gates of your muscle cells to receive the amino acids you just consumed, optimizing muscle repair and growth. This is especially important for those with insulin resistance. Step 4. Focus lunch on choline and complete protein. Pasture-raised egg yolks, 2-3 wild-caught fish, turkey, or beef. Add leafy greens like arugula, dandelion, or beet greens. Healthy fat, olive oil, avocado, or walnuts. Optional, 1 tsp sunflower lecithin or milk thistle capsule to support liver. This meal supports liver function, detoxification, and ongoing protein metabolism. Step 5. Avoid snacking between meals. Snacking increases insulin and disrupts amino acid delivery to muscle tissue. Instead, sip on mineral-rich water, herbal teas, or more bone broth if needed between meals. Step 6. Protein-rich dinner, but keep it light. Grass-fed meat or lentil soup with bone broth base, non-starchy vegetables. Add magnesium-rich foods like spinach or pumpkin seeds to relax muscles overnight. Optional, taurine, 500-1000 milligrams in the evening to support bile and liver detoxification overnight. Step 7. Sleep 7. 8 hours, your real recovery window. During deep sleep, your growth hormone rises, your muscles repair, and your liver regenerates. If you neglect sleep, no protein shake will save you. Tip: stop eating 2-3 hours before bed to reduce overnight insulin and improve fat burning. This protocol does 3 critical things. Maximizes muscle protein synthesis by timing and quality of protein. Improves insulin sensitivity to allow nutrient uptake. Supports liver detox and digestion, the metabolic gatekeepers of muscle growth. You don't have to do it all perfectly. Just start with 1 or 2 steps and build momentum. If you start over 70 and you're noticing your muscles aren't what they used to be, you're not broken. You're not too old. You're likely just missing the right inputs, the ones that your aging metabolism actually recognizes. Most people are still focused on protein quantity, when what really matters after 70 is protein bioavailability, digestive capacity, and metabolic flow. Let's recap the most important insights. Eggs are good, but bone broth-based proteins are better after 70 because they're easier to absorb and more joint-friendly. Your liver is your metabolic control tower. If it's congested or sluggish, your muscles won't rebuild no matter how much protein you eat. Fasting, movement, and targeted amino acids, especially leucine and glycine, are powerful muscle restoration tools for seniors. And yes, digestion, bile flow, and insulin sensitivity play a bigger role in muscle strength than you've been told. Here's your next step. Start by adding bone broth, protein, plus light movement in the morning. Support your liver with egg yolks, leafy bitters, or milk thistle, and cut out the snacks between meals. Let your body reset. You'll be shocked at how quickly your strength, balance, and confidence start to return, no matter your age. If you found this helpful, share it with someone you care about. And if you want more practical tools to reverse age-related muscle loss naturally, subscribe to this channel now and turn on notifications. Your body can still build muscle, even in your 60s and beyond, but only if you start giving it